This is the 2-day Insider Share Masterclass from the Heart series. And I'm Mark Laurie, your host. We have Sarah Hungar with us today, which is kind of cool. And I'm a photo artist with Inner Spirit Photography. I speak internationally. I write. I've written several books, including photography books, of course, and a poetry book. And I write articles and blogs and all sorts of different things. And I'm a podcaster at the fascinatingwomen.com podcast. I'd like to have you there as well. Inner Spirit Photography is my company, my logo. Now, we've been recorded and interviewed and on CBC national TV and local CTV. We're accredited. We've won Photographer of the Year award. And here is Sarah. Now, have your pen and paper ready because you may have some interesting things you want to take notes of. This is a photograph of Sarah when she was in Her Body Speaks program. She had all sorts of interesting, powerful words written on her body. You can see those at herbodyspeaks.ca. And this is what she normally looks like when she's at work. This is her regular garb. And we're going to try this experiment.
Virus crisis is changing life as we know it dramatically tonight.
I can't wait for a year's time when all of this is a distant memory. And there is a corona baby boom because all the lovers will love it. And there is a rise in small businesses because all the entrepreneurs had a moment of stillness and creativity. And all the children remember nothing but a time when all the mums and dads were at home drawing and playing ball games, and we remember it as the time we all got to stop and be present. We will remember the time our health was our first priority, and people learned new ways to use fresh produce to feed their families. We remember the laughter and fun on TikTok, FaceTiming with our friends and family each day, date nights in the house, and home PE workouts with Joe Wicks. A time our real heroes in the NHS urged us to stay at home for the greater good, and our country showing their support by turning Wembley and the Angel of the North blue. And we were all forced to think outside the box and dream up new things and reinvent old ways, and for once, even amongst the chaos, there was community. There was a global rise in togetherness, and as the streets were quiet, our homes were bustling with love and laughter. That time is coming soon, just like any other crisis before it. This will all be a distant memory, a thing we've seen listened to our children discuss in classrooms, or once was, that we share with our grandchildren. So to you, I know it's unsettling, but focus on the silver lining. We're all in this together, and there's so much beauty to see.
In a second, I should get my screen back. Good, here I am back. Hello, everyone. And we have Sarah here with us. I'll get my gallery, there we go. Go alongside. And so we got Sarah for a short period of time. She's got some appointments, but so what's it like, Sarah? Because you're a nurse in the front lines, going to the hospital and stuff, and tell us what happens like your day.
So it's been interesting. Things are slowly getting more manageable. Thank goodness. So yeah.
Do you have a lot of people that come through?
Sorry.
Okay.
It's just hard to hear you a bit. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Do you have a lot of people coming through? Like, are you already fairly busy or just starting to slow up a little bit?
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why the volume got turned down. I could hear you well before, and now I can't really hear much. I think the question was, are we having a lot of people come through?
Yeah.
So basically what's happened is the government stopped having elective surgery. So basically it was all emergency surgery cases, and then we are also doing some of the urgent cancer cases. So that was good. And the fact that I know one of the doctors I talked to, he was able to get 100 cancer patients completed on his list. So it was kind of like a blessing for those people as they could, you know.
So there's some silver linings through all of this.
Yeah. Sorry, it's really hard to hear you. Oh, yeah. Technology is not my forte.
It makes it interesting as you try all these different connections.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I don't know
There
what happened.
you go.
Buttons click themselves. Yes, I can hear you well now.
No, one of your posts you had ways to put masks and gloves and washing hands and such.
Yeah. Basically, I know it's, it's second nature for us,
Right.
like especially in the operating room, we're always wearing masks, we're always wearing gloves. I think for the general public, it's just understanding why you're wearing that mask. So there's a couple different reasons. If you're sick yourself, then it would be to protect others from you.
Right.
If you're within a close distance with people, that's why we wear it at the hospital normally. It's to protect us from everything else. So it's just keeping in mind why you're wearing it. And then it's not normal for basically a lot of the general public to be wearing a mask. So it's just you have to just be so aware. Like if, it's not if you pull it under your chin, then you've just contaminated it with your hands, first of all. And it's not doing anything for you in that matter. Like we wear gloves too, like between patient to patient, and like any time, like you just have to keep in mind, like wash your hands before you're putting on those gloves, wash your hands after you take them off. And like, it's not some protective, like magical, barrier to anything. You really they have micro tears in them, so you could be harvesting more bacteria if there's little tears in it, and then the moisture of your hands within those gloves is just going to harvest more bacteria. If you're wearing them from like home to the grocery store to home again, it's like you've just, it's like just spreading germs from one place to another. So I think the major thing that us as healthcare professionals, like your hands are the best barriers you have, like your natural skin, like given that it's like intact and you don't have any cuts or anything, like that's why our hands are so like durable, and the skin on them is thick, and it's like, use that as your resource and just wash your hands. And it's kind of like a blessing and a curse at the same time with this virus. Like it is so easily spread, but at the same time, it's basically like encapsulated in that kind of barrier, I guess you could say. And soap and water or hand sanitizer breaks that barrier. So it's easily spread, but it's easily broken apart. Like it's easy preventable as well. So,
So
yeah.
I went shopping with Jan recently. Normally she kind of goes out, so one of us leaves the house at a time. But it struck me with the gloves, because the contamination will stay on the gloves for a while. So if a person goes to the grocery store and handles all the doors, that kind of stuff, and comes back, your hands are protected, but now you take your gloves off and the hands get, so how do you, because the gloves can be contaminated, right? Like they're not.
Okay.
So once you put them on and you go out, you do your thing, you come back in, what precautions should you take with your gloves? Because they could be a source now. Do you spray them before you take them off, or how do you protect yourself from...
Yeah, no, like if you're using like sanitizer on them or anything, that's like just gonna degrade them more. So it's like, if you're wearing them to the grocery store before you leave,
right?
There's like every time I've been to the grocery store, there's staff with hand sanitizer at the entrances and exits. So, it's like dispose of your gloves in the garbage there. Don't throw them on the ground, because that's a whole different problem. And then wash your hands, and as soon as you get
those
wash
plastic ones that are disposable.
Sorry.
So not just regular gloves. You should have the plastic latex ones.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's what I was referring to, like the disposable one. I guess if you have any other ones, I just treat everything as like contaminated. Like even, cloth masks can be helpful, but you have to be, as soon as you get home, it's like dispose of it. Don't touch the front of it, and just not dispose of it. Sorry, throw it in the wash.
Okay.
Like, it's you just have to think of everything as a potential source of contamination, and just be well aware of like, okay, if your gloves are contaminated, if your mask is contaminated because you were out and about, it's like, just do the proper hand hygiene with those.
I'll repeat back to you, see if I got this right. So for gloves, because again, I was just, thinking gloves, I got a pair of winter gloves or something, but use the latex gloves. You buy the disposable latex gloves, you go out, do your thing, you come back in, peel them off, and they go in the garbage. They're not washable, right?
Yeah, no.
Not reusable. So gloves are not reusable. So look more in your face. And then you've got a mask on. So you've got a mask on. Now the masks are reusable, but they should be washed once you come back in. Is that right?
Yeah, like basically the process I do is if I wear a mask, I'd come in the house, wash your hands,
right?
Then like untie it from the back and basically just like drop it in the laundry hamper. And because like the outside of it is basically like contaminated. Okay. So if you're like grabbing it off your face, it's like, okay, well then are you washing your hands correctly after? Which I've seen people like pull it down and then go on their phone. Another thing is phones. It's like those are probably the biggest germ carriers right now, I would say. But yeah, I would just, if in doubt, just wash your hands, sanitize, like.
Yeah. So sanitize the phone as well occasionally, if you've been from outside. Like once it gets inside your environment, if it's clean, you're pretty good with it.
Sorry.
So with the phone, so it can, if you go out and bring it back in, it's at what point does the phone get dangerous? At what point does it become potentially contaminated?
I think there's so many different points. It's like I see a lot of people using gloves with the phone, and it's just like, it depends like what you're doing with it. Like, were you just in the grocery store, then you're on your phone. It's like, okay, well now your phone is contaminated. Like, I would just be aware of where your hands have been, and then, where they like, are you touching your phone? Are you like cleaning it well? And
is there something you can use to clean your phone up? Is there some hand sanitizer is not going to be the thing to do, but is there some alcohol? How do you protect your phone? Or is it?
I just use like the Lysol wipes. I know it, like I have a plastic cover over my phone, so right. I don't know what's gonna like degrade it if you're using like alcohol based or whatever, but or just wash your hands every time you touch your phone and after.
How long is the virus on an object like that for? Like, is it something that's on for 4 hours, 8 hours, 2 days?
The last time I checked, it was like debatable which different services like harvest it more and how long it stays on different surfaces. I'm not too honestly up to date on what the what the latest verdict is, but I would just assume at least like a few hours for sure that it stayed on there.
Because phones are to the face, and you've kind of got it that way. So, speakerphone's a good approach, I guess, to go for. I hadn't even thought about that. So a person is, if they're stepping out of their house now, is it the social distancing? That's still pretty useful. They're starting on release stores. You can kind of come in and start hairdressers and so on. Is that still a pretty safe thing to do, or is if you're going to go to a hairdresser someplace, what kind of safety should they be looking for? Not all hairdressers, all establishments are up to total speed on what's safe for the public.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of friends that are hairstylists or different people reach out, and I think a lot of people are a bit worried that it's too soon, but it is what it is, and use your own kind of I don't know what the word is, but judgment, I guess, and just be careful, like have certain policies in place. Like if you're sick, if you have like anything, like it's tricky right now because there's a lot of like it's allergy season, and then it's also like cold and flu season, so it's hard to determine like what exactly you might have, but just err on the side of caution. And if you're not feeling well, or if you have the sniffles or a cough or anything, it's like just stay in and I would advise that to hairstylists or anyone that's kind of in the midst of opening, to just advise their clients, you know, like if you have any of these symptoms, stay home. It's like for everyone's safety. And yeah. And then I just tell them, like, you know, I think a lot of places are doing more time in between clients, so you can kind of wipe the surfaces down and everything. And, you know, there shouldn't be like a mad rush of everything, hopefully. Even though I know people are very eager, but kind of just, I would say, just err on the side of caution. And yeah.
Yeah, the second
it'll be interesting. I don't know, like, what specific guidelines they might have when things, I think May 14th is the date that.
Yeah. We've pushed back some more photo shoots even a bit further, just they're not critical. And so I'm in no particular rush to get things, especially because we work out of our house. And so if something comes in, that could not be good.
Yeah.
Go based with it. But we're going to be starting our 20-foot photo sessions for things outdoors. It's getting nicer. And there's some virtual photography that can kind of be done. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's so interesting how like innovative people have been. Like, it's, you know, you see so many people continuing with their businesses just in a different way of going about it. And it's yeah, it kind of.
We've seen some that's called Pivoting for Profit, and one of the guys is a masseuse, and he's, you know, she's shut down completely. I think he can go back to it fairly soon. He's down in the States, and he shifted to dog training online. His whole business, he's actually making more money doing that than his regular.
Yeah.
kind of wild. So if when a person does get sick, so they've decided that I'm not feeling good, this could be bad. What are the kind of symptoms they should watch for? As like this, the first stage of self-diagnostic. When should they go, I should have this checked? What stage what things they should be looking for before they start getting serious about checking it?
Yeah, kind of the things we tell people, it's hard. It's like runny nose, sore throat. The thing with this virus is it is so transferable, and then it also, I think, has mutated a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've heard firsthand of people that them and their spouse have both had it, and their spouse had like the sore throat, runny nose kind of symptoms, sore chest, and then the other person in the household had like just really fatigued and just felt unwell. So it's just, I think any sudden changes in like 14 days, any sudden changes, I would just question. You know, yeah, anything new or different. And if you're just feeling unwell, I would just be safe. And, you know, HealthLink has been such a great resource for so many people. And the staff that runs HealthLink have been like, they're just a wealth full of resources. So if you're curious or like unsure, I would just call that number. It's 811, and they can for sure kind of guide you towards what would be best to do. And yeah.
So I've noticed, like, they're talking about the States and in Europe and so on, people are coming to work or coming in buildings and they say, great, here's the thermometer, what's your temperature? And then it hits a certain point, they can either reject or they can come in. Is that a fair test? Like a first level test, like a thermometer?
Yeah. Like every single day when we come to work, we got our temperature checked, and if it's over 38, you're not going to work that day. But yeah, it's a good sign that your body's, because basically what a fever tells you is that your body's working extra hard to fight off something. So whether it be the virus or something else, it's your body kind of telling you that something's wrong, and it's doing its best to kind of fight that off. So best to stay home anyways. But
so
yeah,
over 38 Celsius, and what's that in Fahrenheit for our 100. So we have, because we've got people online that aren't from Calgary. So the person that's, okay, so I'm sick and I got to go to the hospital. What kind of process they go through once they hit the hospital? It's not a normal intake kind of thing, is it?
Yeah, basically we have screening at every entrance of the hospital. So the nurses or healthcare staff will kind of go through a series of questions with you. It's, you know, the common ones, like, have you traveled? Have you been around anyone that's sick? Have you had any of these symptoms? Yeah, so they'll go through a detailed questionnaire with you,
Okay.
and then take your temperature and kind of go from there, decipher. I guess most people, the only entrance you could probably come into is through Emerge. So
Well, let's say you've come in and the guy says, okay, you looks like you've got it. Then what's your next step inside the hospital?
yeah, so then through emergency, they're putting a mask on everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. I mean, it's good for the majority of prevention, but then, you know, like I said, people aren't used to wearing a mask. So it's a lot of like pulling it down, and like, I get it's uncomfortable. It's not the best thing, but you just have to think of the people around you.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, you'd go through emergency, and then I would imagine you'd see a doctor there, and same kind of process. That's what we're telling people is like, you know, the hospital's still running. We're still seeing patients. We're still doing surgeries. There's, you know, I get it's a scary thing to have to come to, but if you're not feeling well or having symptoms, you know, you still have that resource as a hospital to go to, an emergency. And, you know, we are seeing a lot more sick patients because people are kind of holding off a bit longer than they probably should. But yeah, I also know people that are kind of scared to come to the hospital because they don't want to take away from the resources. But it's like, you know, the hospital's there always as a resource to kind of help you. So, you know, we're still open, we're still seeing patients. So yeah.
That's good. Now I'm gonna zip back to because you gave us two. When I do the screen share, do you see it? I'm just gonna screen share because you had two documents you sent in to me, and I'm just going to get to them and share those. Share screen.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I'll just make this larger on this side. Here we go.
Yeah. So that picture is basically just showing like the how spreadable it is, and basically like if you have it, you could spread it to 2.5 people, and then it can, like, you know, it just multiplies. And that's why the social distancing and kind of like self-isolating if you're sick is so important, just because it doesn't take a lot for the virus to transfer. You know, even when we're talking, it's like there's tiny molecules that are being dispersed each time. And then it's like if you cough or sneeze, it's like those molecules are on surfaces or your hands. And it just like, it's just like a ripple effect, I guess, of how easily it's transferred and how easily, you know, it's like it enters basically through mucous membrane. So that's like your mouth, your nose, your eyes. So I think we'll get on the next picture I sent you. It shows like how many times this is at the South Hospital that I work at,
right? And
they posted this, and it's just like, even if I know I'm so guilty of this, like touching my hair, like rubbing my eyes, and it's like, you just to be so aware of it. Like I think it says like your hair like
4 times an hour.
Yeah.
3 seconds. Eyes get touched 3 times an hour. Ears once. Nose 3 times every hour. Cheeks 4 times. How do they record this stuff? Mouth 4 times.
I know. I'm like, who are they watching?
Probably camera stuff.
Yeah.
So it really, and it's so, you're so subconscious. I'm lucky I don't have as much hair, so I don't have to touch my hair as often. Advantages of kind of getting old when it kind of grows.
But yeah, it's totally like, it's a subconscious, like just your normal way of doing things. And like, I'm sure, you know, some people, you don't even realize it until you're like, unless you're being aware of it or have someone with you that's like,
Yeah, you start to see things and kind of kick into it.
Yeah.
Is it starting to ease up? Like, are we through I've heard stuff where there's a first wave, then there may be a second wave coming, and it's flattening out. when they say flatten out, what does that mean when they say that it's the virus curves flattening out?
Just basically that like the number of cases and are kind of staying stagnant or decreasing. The number of people in ICU or hospitalizations are kind of staying the same. I don't know, the things you have to keep in mind. I know that they've been posting, or they've been saying that the number of cases is, I think it was like 70 new cases yesterday, but you just have to keep in mind the level of testing. You know, it's like they haven't been testing that much. So, because it kind of, you know, it sometimes doesn't correlate how, okay, this week they've opened up more services, but the number of testing has gone down. So then, of course, like you decrease the number of testing, the number of cases are gonna go down. It's just like, you know, it's one and the same. So I think one of the things to look at is the number of people in ICU and the number of hospitalizations, because that's, you know, slowly going up.
So those are the key numbers. Like I can really appreciate that when if they increase testing, or if they get more focused with their test. Like in some countries, the testing is more severe, and like I think it was Denmark I was reading, and their numbers are very, very low. But if anybody has a mildest symptom, they snivel twice, go get tested. So they do high-end testing, mildest things, and the end result is if anybody is the start of it, they're able to pull them back and contain them. And they've also done a wonderful thing of tracking is what they did. So they know in their country, there's sections of the country that they're 150 miles, 500 miles from any contamination. So these guys just functions if it's normal, because it's clearly nothing in their neighborhood, because they're not where people are going. So they're down to almost running normally on them. So what you're saying is, I hadn't thought about that. So the people in ICU and the number of deaths are the two things to watch carefully in terms of how at risk your neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, and just be like aware, like, you know, there might only be 70 new cases, but like, how much have they tested? You know, it's just like, we're not like in the free right now. You know, if anything, we still have to like wash our hands and keep distance, because as more things open, you know, it's going to leave more room for more people to potentially get the virus. So
if you've been outside, so you've done your thing outside, you come back in, you've washed your hands, you're in your house, you're in your environment, people aren't coming and going. Do you still have to wash your hands regularly in that situation?
I would for sure before like eating or anything where you're like touching your face. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt.
When you're in your house, like you've come in, you've got kind of contained house, like Jan and I are the only people here pretty much. Do you wash like every hour, or like are you, because you're in your house and your house is sort of a secure zone, I guess. Like you've come from outside, you've come in, you've cleaned things up, you've washed, and now how often do you have to go back and wash them again? Is it
I would just, it depends what you're doing. Like I would for sure, like before and after you eat, before and after the bathroom, like
normal stuff.
And then, yeah, just being aware of like what you're doing. Like even before I put on makeup or anything, you know, I'm washing my hands, just because it's like anything, I guess, where you're touching like your mouth or your eyes or like any of those mucous membranes, just make sure you have clean hands. Because you never know, like if it does stay on surfaces. I think they were saying metal and plastic for 3 days or something. That was a while ago, but so I mean, if that's the case, then you don't really know what's, you know, like you can't have laser vision to see like where this virus is kind of sitting. So I would just be, more cautious than, I guess.
Yeah. So I hadn't really thought that. You sort of think, well, I've washed my hands, I'm inside my house, I haven't gotten sick yet. And so my brain's like, oh, well, we're done then. I can be normal inside my home. But I guess not, because your hands, you know, your clothing stuff could kind of be transferring.
Yeah.
That's the thing with dogs as well, like other pets. Like, you know, we've got, I'm a dog lover, and I, you know, before this, I hit the dog park, and just every time I get a chance to hug and pet a dog, and And now I realize that because it can stay on their coats, it can't affect them, but it can be on their coats for a while. So if you,
Yeah.
I mean, somebody pets your dog, is like, oh God, I have to go home and wash them. So what do you do if you're out walking your dog and some guy with no gloves comes up and pets your dogs and gives it a hug? Okay, your dog may not be contaminated. Do you go home and bath it? Like, what do you do with the dog?
I think that's why I have seen some people, like I live right across the river, so I do see some people at the dog park, and I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. I know my dog's got lots of baths, but I think people too are more, I haven't had someone on a walk. Usually people are like all over my dog, but I haven't had anyone like ask to pet him or anything. So
she's got the cutest little dog. I photographed him a couple of times and he's just adorable.
He's just here lying down. There he is. So he has lots of fur. Hopefully. But
yeah, if the dogs could associate multiple baths with walks, they'd probably go, I don't want to walk anymore.
Yeah. Tired of baths. Hey? Yeah.
Does the audience have any questions? Is there any questions? We can, if you want, you can just go into the chat screen and pop in some questions for Sarah. If that comes up. We've got a few more minutes to go still. So how long are your days? Is still working just normal shifts?
Yeah. I work between 2 hospitals, so it's interesting just to even see, like, I mean, everything's generally the same, but there is like different practices that some do and some don't, and it's been a learning curve, to say the least. Like, it's been, I think, for everyone in healthcare, it's just especially near the beginning of all this, things were changing so drastically, and lots of people were stressed and not handling it well, just because it's one thing you're worried to come to work, and it's another thing, a lot of people have families that they're going home to, and it's like the last thing you want to do is get a family member sick or spread it on. So
that's terrifying, especially if like there's so many people are classified as essentials. So, and they're just, there's the health people, but there's also the people in the grocery stores and a variety of places are handling food and so on. So they come back in and they've been exposed to the public in all sorts of situations, and now that would be a very strong concern. You come home and because it does spread so easily.
Yeah. I think someone had a question. I just didn't see where it went.
In addition to hand washing, mask wearing, and not face touching, is there any practices we can do when returning from shared environments like grocery stores or doctor's office, showers? Should we shower a particular temperature for laundry, that kind of thing?
I would, depends, like, again, what you were doing. Like, if you were, I just, every time I come home from the hospital, it's like you kind of like strip down and then just go right into the shower. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but I would say just your number one thing is just going to be hand washing. And I mean, depends like what you were doing, I guess.
So I'm really starting to really understand the clothing is the barrier. So if you're going out, the things that you can have, your gloves are disposable, but you've got like a coat on. And so I'm thinking, if you come into a closet, you have, like in our place, we have seasonal wear. So we have like 8 coats in there. So would it be a wise thing to sort of put the coats that aren't being worn off to the side and the coat that you're going out on, like off in a special place in the closet? Is that a viable thing to do, or is that overkill?
I don't think anything right now is overkill. I think it's, I mean, it's better to be safe, especially, if you are coming home to an environment where you're like, lots of people are considered at risk just because the way the virus attacks. So if you have any kind of underlying lung or heart disease, which, I mean, the average person usually either has like some kind of heart disease, lung disease like asthma or anything, or diabetes as well. So that's kind of like a lot of the population that has either one or like more than one of those underlying factors. So
right. I don't know, because my she's had bronchitis, so we're cautious with her on it. Now I'm just ticking on Liz's question. Is there a particular temperature for laundry? Like if you're washing clothes that may not be contaminated, is there a water temperature that'll kill the virus? Shower temperature?
As far as I know, like what was noted was like the laundry will kill the virus. So,
okay. So the soaps and stuff will kill it. So that's
yeah,
as much as anything else.
Yeah.
Laundry thing.
Yeah.
How much do you have to watch kids? Like, are they? Because their younger ones aren't quite as susceptible as the older people are. So.
Yeah. I think the thing about kids is they're just such good germ carriers. You know, they're all about sharing. I'll pick my nose if you pick yours, kind of thing. So I think that's why one of the first things to close down was schools. Is just they might, you know, I don't think there's very many, if any, real cases where kids have gotten sick with the virus where they've needed hospitalization or anything, but they just can pass it along to like mom or dad, grandma or grandpa, and they're just, yeah, you know, if you think about how like even like so many kids at daycares or whatever, you know, as soon as like one kid gets sick at a daycare, you know, it's like everyone has it. So it just shows how like good at sharing they are.
Yep, I can see that. Well, I'm going to kind of wrap things up a little bit now. If there's other questions, we'll take a look at those. Tomorrow we've got Bonnie Sullivan coming in, and she'll be at the same time, 1:30. She's a psychologist, and so she's working with a lot of people who have. She said, it was kind of cute when she talked to me. She said people started off the first couple of weeks, it was like, oh, cool, holiday, Netflix. And then the second week, and nothing much has changed. All of a sudden, oh my God, this is horrible. We're all going to die. And depression's kind of sicked in. And then now it's getting anxiety, and there's a lot of suicide and depression kind of happening. And it's different from single people, which is what you're facing, I believe. You got your dog.
Yeah.
Couples and families have all got different dynamics of how they're having to deal with it and get human contact and so on. And so that's the kind of stuff that Bonnie's be talking about tomorrow. And we've got no additional questions. Again, I'm Mark Laurie from Their Spirit Photography. This is the 2-day Insider Share Masterclass from the heart. Thank you so much, Sarah. We'll let you get back on here. Oh, hang on. That's just a different bell that's being hit here. Nope, we're good. Great.
Okay.
Well, thank you for your time today, and I'm so glad we could connect.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I'm glad the technical issues sorted themselves out.
I'm going to put up, is it okay if they connect with you on your Instagram?
Yeah, okay. Instagram or Facebook if you have any questions. Questions, comments, or it's always interesting kind of to see, you know, from healthcare perspective, because, you know, I've had a lot of people just ask me and they're just like, what's it like on the inside kind of thing. So
right.
Yeah, if you have any questions or.
So what's your Facebook handle? I didn't write that down. I can share my screen because I've got you with, where to go here? There it is. So I got your Instagram one here. They can write that down. Pop down to the next slide. There you go. This is her Instagram account.
Oh,
XOX Sarah with the 2 H's. Sarah, I guess at the H for Hunger.
Yeah.
Instagram. And what is Facebook?
Yeah, so it's just SARAH Hunger, HUNGAR, not ER.
And you recognize it because she'll have a little kind of mask piece on. And
yeah.
I stop my share thing. Hope you got that down. If you didn't, I can. Good. Great. Well, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much again. And we'll see all of you folks tomorrow at 1:30.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.